shut the fuck up!
Alright, so it's here finally, my review of Persona 5. I was so very looking forward to this game. I'm a huge fan of the Persona series, and even, more so of the whole entire Shin Megami Tensei series as a whole. So, you might take my opinion of this game with a grain of salt, but I don't think there's very many people out there who are gamers and aren't Shin Megami Tensei fans at this point anymore. And with that being said, I'm going to try to, rate this as fairly as possible. You will find it's not all pros, but there are some cons in this game as well. Alright, now, this game has been a long time in the works, and I'm going to try and give you a summary without spoiling any of the story, if at all possible. This is the first story to actually take place in a real city within Japan, that is Tokyo. So that's plenty cool. They use a lot of the, of actual Tokyo for the game. And according to Atlus, I suppose it's supposed to be part of the Persona story, even though it doesn't directly connect with either the previous 2, 3, and 4, which are connected already. You play a character who tries to stop a man from sexually assaulting a woman, and then is falsely accused of attacking the man, ending up on probation. So you're expelled from your school and you're on probation for a year, so your character gets sent to I guess kind of a friend of the family. It's not really talked about too much, but it's loosely mentioned that he's somehow someone that the family knows. But this guy's name is Sojiro. And so you're sent to his place so that you can go to school in Tokyo and complete your schooling there. Now, it's at this school that you and another student named Ryuji end up making your way into the metaverse, which is another world that's basically all in everyone's head. It's a cognitive world. And it's there in the metaverse where you find your first palace. And these palaces are distortions of the real world. Anyone who has a distorted desire, that distorted desire becomes a palace, and their distorted desire itself is held there as a treasure. So it's inside this first palace that you go to with the other character, Ryuji, that you meet our next big character, which is Morgana. Morgana is a cat-like creature that convinces the main character to steal the desires of the palace. And it's through Morgana that the main character and the people he meets end up forming a group called the Phantom Thieves, where they go around just stealing all the distorted desires of the corrupt adults in the city. Once someone's distorted desires are stolen, they end up having what's known as a change of heart, where their personality changes entirely and they admit to everything they've done. Now, the story progresses along these lines for quite some time, until eventually you get to the end story and you find out that's not quite everything. That's not the real story here. But I'm not going to talk about that, and I believe that's all I really want to talk about for the summary of this game. It's an excellent game. So now, without further ado, we'll go ahead and move to the pros. Okay, so for the first pro is that this game is extremely stylish, it's extremely beautiful, it's a living, breathing piece of art. Everything you do just has so much work put into it. Even the transitions from scene to scene are just, beautiful. Music that plays in the background just doing menial tasks is amazing. Even something as simple as walking is almost its own, own beautiful picture. Like as your character's walking across in the metaverse, there's like this kind of blood splatter paint that's coming up with his steps. I've even heard from my wife that this game was just amazing to watch, which isn't, too deniable. The fourth one apparently was pretty good to watch too. But yes, visually, this game is easily a 10 out of 10. So, moving on to the next pro is, as we mentioned, that, amazing soundtrack. The music playing is just freaking epic and amazing. They even outdid themselves from the fourth one easily. It fits the jazzy music and kind of goes in with the dark style. Alright, moving on to our next pro. We have that there's actually abilities with rank ups. Now, if you don't know what rank ups are from the previous game, you have a chance to talk to certain characters in the game and unlock them as what's called confidants. As you rank up with them, you'll be able to fuse personas of that arcana that they represent, with them gaining a slight EXP boost. And once you complete it, you get a special persona to unlock for fusion yourself. But in this game, they actually added little stuff you get for each little level on most of them. Some you don't get too much in between ranks, but still, just that you get anything is just, a blessing. And the things you get aren't entirely worthless. Like, it makes trying to get all the confidants to maxed out in one go, like, completely worth it. And for the next pro, I want to talk about, how awesome the confidants themselves were. Like, they were good characters that added more to the story, and, I didn't dislike going to any of them, really. I mean, maybe in part that is because the little bonuses that they give you with the rank ups. However, these rank ups had the best stories out of 3 and 4 altogether, like, easily. All the characters were very well done. And so, speaking of the characters, I think that my next pro definitely is going to have to be the characters themselves. The characters is a rank up themselves. Rank up being a rank up from the previous games. Like I mentioned before, it didn't really seem like anybody was just thrown in here for the sake of having, somebody of that arcana. All their stories were pretty well done. Well, maybe everyone but one, who was actually a main character, disappointingly enough. One of your main characters, or the members of your Phantom Thieves, is just kind of really unrealistic and boring. But most of the characters on your team just, add so much life into the game that it's, it's amazing. Especially with how large your group gets at the end. So, another pro that I would like to mention in this is ways to raise your stats. Like, as you know, in these games, they have stats that you gotta raise, and you gotta raise the stats to, unlock certain social links, which are the rank ups, or to even do stuff progressing in the game. Like, you have to be so knowledgeable in order to pass your tests. And this game has so many ways to raise those stats. Like, I feel that the stats require more to grow because there is all these ways, but still, it's a lot of fun, doing all these different things within your free time and learning that they raise, certain skills in certain ways. And then the final pro I really want to mention, well, maybe not the final pro. I think I want to add one more. But another pro I would like to mention is that this thing has such an excellent story. Like, even though it's incredibly obvious at times, it's still very good. And once you get to that final part, it just makes the entire experience worth it. Plus, it really has a lot more closure than, most Persona games. But yes, the part where this shines through most is its story. And that's excellent because it's a JRPG. But anyways, the actual last, pro I would like to mention is that they added two new kind of elemental skills into the mix to kind of help diverse the strategy to the game. They added psychic and nuclear attacks into the elemental mix. Not to mention the usual light and dark skills, which are generally instant kills, actually have their own kind of elemental attacks as well. It really helps this game with its battle. and makes it to where you kind of really need to use all your characters at certain points, which helps out as well. Whew, I know that was an incredible list of pros, but now we're going to move on to the cons, and as much as I did enjoy this game, it's definitely got some glaring cons I would like to talk about. One con I wanted to mention that, I don't know, this might be a little bit asinine of me to even mention, and it might have been part of that style that I love so much, but at the same time, there was plenty of times where the scenes themselves got shaky. Like, there was a shaky cameraman watching it, and it bugged me, and I had to, stop reading the dialogue and just watch the screen to find out that that was exactly what I thought it was. It was just really weird, and like I said, I had to stop playing to kind of figure out what was going on, so it took away from the story. Another thing that I'd like to mention is those stats. Those stats that added, another level of gameplay to the social life. There's a lot of times in your confidant social links that you're going to need to have that stat raised up so high to get to that, to be able to unlock it. And as I mentioned before, you gotta do a lot to unlock those. And it's just very sad that you need your rank so high to just do something so simple. And personally, I believe that the only reason that they do have to be so high is so that there's guaranteed no way you can complete all the social links on your first playthrough. Which, I believe this game has a lot of, replayability, but to kind of be forced into it, not a very good move. So, another thing that I kind of want to mention that's not necessarily a con, just something I found funny, is that one of the characters in this game has a real effing potty mouth, if you know what I mean. And what I do mean by that is that basically he says, every curse word you can get away with, but never says the word fuck. He always says F. F this, F that, effin', effin', effin'.
What the F? How the hell?
Like I said, not really a con, just something I found particularly funny. But on that note, a real con I would like to mention is the voice acting. Which, granted, they're not, all terrible or anything quite like that. Just, there's times where the voice actors don't fit their characters. Very specifically with the main character and On. It might not become as noticeable whenever you get other characters, but whenever she's one of the only female characters in your party for so long, you'll definitely tend to notice that her voice actor almost seems to change. And as for the main character, I don't know if it's because he didn't have many lines in the game or what, but he kind of tends to go back and forth between being the main character of Persona 5 and almost doing an imitation of the main character from Persona 4. It's a little bit off-putting, but I don't know, maybe other people won't pick up on that as much. Okay, so one glaring con in this game is a sense of false freedom. Don't get me wrong, you do have freedom. You can go and do whatever you want. I don't want to try and say that. I'm just saying, there's a whole lot of times where your asshole cat tells you to go directly to bed. And it just becomes so annoying. It's like, what's that? We got a test tomorrow? Better go directly to bed. Yes, sir, cat. Your character just, goes along with this every single time. Just go directly to bed. And in a game where, pretty much the most fun thing is the social interaction that you're doing during these times, it's a fucking slap in the face. Honestly, I would have preferred a system more like Persona 3, where if you, did do these things and then continue to go out at night, you just become tired and gain less skills. Alright, there's two more real things I want to list for, cons. And this one, which was a very, very important con, and I'll kind of mention why. But this con being that the casino stage fucking sucks. Like, don't get me wrong. Looks gorgeous, you know, it's got the style of everything. Like, I was even really excited whenever I got to the casino stage just because it looked so, you know, gorgeous, and, you know, you're Phantom Thief stealing from a casino. Sounds freaking awesome. However, your characters go here, and might be a little bit of a spoiler for the story, but essentially the person who's running the casino is cheating. So you rig the computers for one machine to, you know, cheat for you, essentially, after finally battling around enough. Now, mostly the reason you're rigging up the system is because, you know, you need so many coins to proceed to the next floor. You know, you're gambling to get up to the highest floor so you can fight the boss, or rather, get their treasure. And so you rig one of the machines, you know, to cheat for you, and you use that so much, and it gets you, like, maybe a little over halfway to your goal. But, as I mentioned, you're not at your goal, so, you know, before that finally stops. But there is other rooms to gamble in, so instinctually, I go to the other rooms to gamble. But, of course, these have been set to RNG, so the chances of you winning are, you know, essentially 50-50. I even tried equipping, you know, a persona with more luck, and it didn't really change the outcome. I spent maybe 2 hours, probably at least 2 hours, to get from the 50% to a 70%. And it was just, you know, brutally infuriating that I was having to do this, and it was taking away from the game. Like, I legitimately thought about quitting at this point in the game. So I did just decide, fuck it, I'm gonna leave here and see what happens. Because at this point, I wasn't playing any more fucking casino shots. Or dice. And upon leaving, there's a little bit of a cutscene where one of the characters, you know, gets you the rest of the money you needed. So basically, I just wasted 2 hours of my fucking life on these, you know, stupid RNG games. And there was nothing along within the story to tell you that you need to do that. So yeah, that's acting as a serious con from this game. And almost dropped the score of the game, even. I mean, I guess technically it did drop the score of the game, because it's probably the reason 1 point is missing from that anything out of 10. Another thing about the casino stage is enemies just kind of randomly appear into it, and with the way the slots are set up, you're going to end up getting hit a lot. So the design of the stage itself is even really a hindrance on the game. Yeah, casino stage fucking sucks. But, you know, stick it out through, because right after the casino stage is where the story just freaking takes off and becomes, you know, more amazing than it's been throughout the entire game. And that kind of leads me into my other con, which was, you know, another really big con against this game, is the gameplay itself. In this game, there's a new system where you're essentially hiding, and while you're hiding, you kind of wait for your opponent to come up, and you rip off their mask. You sneak up on them and rip off their mask. So already there's kind of a hindrance to the normal gameplay of running up, attacking an enemy, and entering battle. You're spending a significant amount of time just sitting there waiting for an enemy to walk back around your way so you can sneak up on them. You can't really change your camera whenever you're sneaking down in this position, so a lot of the times, even if you are able to attack the enemy, you won't know it until your character just kind of say something, and you end up trying to attack them because they said something and they're no longer within your reach, so they instead in turn get you. And also, that's going to happen a lot, because the button to sneak, the button to attack, and the button to pop out are all the same button. It's all the X button. So far too often, you're going to end up getting screwed over by not being able to change your camera, or the button itself, and you're just going to throw yourself into enemy attack where you can instantly die as you might know from playing these in any previous Persona game. Giving your enemy the first attack through is just devastating in this game. And I mean, I gotta mention, honestly, I am a fan of the system of, sneaking up on your opponent, but really the attack button should have been a different button. Hell, even the get out of cover button should have been a different button. Like I said, it's just the controls get in the way of the gameplay far too often. The final stage you're at, they work perfectly. And there's even a few cases, other than obviously the casino stage, there's a few cases where the sneaking around comes in real handy. Like, you'll just end up sneaking from spot to spot to spot until you sneak up on the opponent and grab them perfectly. So, I mean, there's stages like that where, it works out so well and you love the system, but there is far too many times where, like I said, the camera's not working and you're throwing yourself out into enemy attack. So really, I feel like just changing those buttons would have really brought this system into life. Whew. And so that's kind of all. I mean, I will mention another con that pretty much everyone knows at this point is no streaming, or at least no real streaming. Atlus has decided that you can't stream past a certain day. And if you do, they will ban your channel. They have actually said this themselves, which is just fucking devastating. And it's devastating for several reasons, ones that I won't get into right now. I do plan on making a second video where I want to talk about things that would improve this game. And also, like I said, talk about the whole streaming thing and why it's such a shit thing. But, as mentioned, that's for the next video. And so for this one, we are rating the game. For my review of Persona 5, I am rating this game a 9 out of 10. I know it might sound odd that I'm rating it a 9 out of 10 because of the cons that I had mentioned, but just, goddamn, this is an amazing game. The story, the visuals, all make everything worth it. And honestly, for the longest time, I thought Persona 4 was going to be a better game than this until I got to that ending. Or rather, the whole end part of the game. The ending isn't just adding 50 more fucking levels onto what you've already done. And it's mostly, story and cutscene oriented. So, it all comes together so well. And I don't know that I necessarily would say this one is better than 5. I really do feel like they're truly equal. If you haven't played, Persona 4, or rather Persona 4 the Golden, you definitely should. And most importantly, you should be playing this game if you're not already. Like, yes, this game is worth the $60, and, I'm almost never gonna say that. So very few games are worth that $60 price tag. But this one just blows it away. Freaking shows you everything that an RPG should be. And so that's why this game is getting that 9 out of 10. And also, the game came out on both PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, so if you haven't gotten yourself the next gen console or the next 0.5 gen console, whatever, then, you can still get this game. And I recommend you do. So, be sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to comment anything. Like I said, I am going to make another video of kind of the afterthoughts and how to improve this game kind of going forward. So, be sure to stay tuned for that. But most importantly, don't forget to take care of yourselves.